Today we get to make our 2024 J.Lohr Arroyo Vista Chardonnay, or at least what we think it might be.
Stainless is the most sealed you can be with wine, but you get a little bit ingress with the concrete, but the real liveliness, you get a little bit of the floral character off of this, apple blossom.
Right.
Yeah, that really adds some brightness to it.
This has more layers to it. I'm still really liking that
Is it
concrete
really
egg. It's just
liking
like,
the
wow,
egg?
pure
Yeah.
Chardonnay.
What I like here today is just to see this kind of, again, building layers with Chardonnay is always really fun.
The never-ending Crayola box.
What I've always loved about Monterey Chardonnay is you get this huge late-hanging fruit component, but there's
Yeah.
always this cold climate acidity.
So we tasted through
it's
all
good thing.
these.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
what's next in our Winemaker
Okay.
101?
So
Welcome to the Share the Lord podcast by J.Lohr Vineyards and Wines, where we take you behind the scenes over a glass of wine. Let's uncork and dive in. So Dave and I are lucky today because we get to play Winemaker for, I guess, the next hour with our own winemaker, White Wines, Kristen Barnhisel. My name's Josh Baldovino. I'm the marketing manager here, and I got Dave Muret, who is our senior marketing director. And today we get to make our 2024 Arroyo Vista Chardonnay, or at least what we think it might be.
maybe, might be. Try some different options. Yeah,
Well, I'm
very
excited,
fun.
and thanks for jumping on the
Yeah.
podcast, Kristen.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me over. Yeah, this is really fun to look at some Chardonnays today. We've got a few things on the docket. We've got the egg, the concrete egg, the œuf de Beaune, to play with today, as well as some neutral oak options, and then a couple of new oak options to kind of look at Arroyo Vista and what goes into making that blend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, this is in the future, by the way, so now we're going to cut to the past before all the glasses are filled. Well, I'm excited
Great.
today, Kristen.
Yeah.
You brought a whole bunch of materials. Dave and I get to play Winemaker for the day. Break it down real fast for the audience. What is on the table?
So what we have here are 6 different components that go into Arroyo Vista from the 24 vintage. We have a few kind of blender lots that we typically use to brighten up and give some depth to the blend. We have one that's actually the concrete egg that we're very excited about. And then mostly neutral oak there for the blenders. And then the basis for Arroyo Vista, which is the Clone 76. Some new oak there, and then also some new oak of the Clone 96, both from our Block 5, which typically goes into the Arroyo Vista blend. Yeah.
Nice.
Happy to share this with all of you. We can kind of go through each of them individually
Yeah.
and then kind of see, what different combinations work well together in the blend.
Well, we are your
Yeah.
students, so however you want to start us off.
Okay,
and
great.
And then we can blend on whatever.
Yeah, well,
Funness.
we're just gonna start. I
Yeah.
think with the egg.
Okay.
I'm going to pour like one for each of you guys here. So we're very excited with our concrete egg. This is the Clone 548, which is delightful and fresh. And typically, it is one of the clones that goes into the Corton Charlemagne blend in Burgundy. So we're very happy and proud to be able to have a little bit of that in our vineyards.
Wow, nice.
And the concrete egg, the œuf de Beaune, is made from gravel from Beaune and sand from the Loire Valley, which is kind of a proprietary blend of those two that make the concrete egg, actually.
So
And
it's not just a piece of concrete, it actually has terroir.
It actually has
built into it.
terroir built into it, exactly.
Wow.
And that's the minerality, that's the real freshness that comes from it. The shape of it, too, actually, is rather unique in terms of the lees stirring that happens. Our egg is actually 500 gallons. And so it actually, as it's fermenting, automatically stirs the lees, gives us some nice texture to it. There's also a little bit of permeability that happens in the egg. It's not like it's a little bit less than oak would have, but a little bit more obviously than stainless. Stainless is the most sealed you can be with wine, but you get a little bit ingress with the concrete and that minerality that really melds well with the lemon kind of character there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do get the
A little
citrus.
freshness and citrus and
Yeah, it's really bright.
a little floral. So again, part of that's the clone that we get to work with, and then if you want to taste it.
So do a lot of the Burgundian wineries, where Chardonnay came from originally, is concrete a major tool?
I think it's a consistent tool. Yes, that they've had as part of a blend like this has been pretty traditional as well for freshness and give that roundness too. We're all picking. We pick Chardonnay at typically they pick it even more so at higher acidity levels.
Right.
Much lower pHs. So again, here as well in Arroyo Seco, we want to look maintaining that freshness and acidity as we're going through things.
Nice.
So yeah, go through fermentation and a little bit malolactic fermentation too.
And so then how long has this process been part of our Chardonnay program?
I believe we got these in 2016.
Okay.
We got one, and then we got a second one in 2017. We have one concrete egg that's non-malolactic that's devoted to Pinot Blanc that we really appreciate for F&G Pinot Blanc. And then the second one is now a malolactic, that we keep it, it's a malolactic concrete egg that we'll keep with this and for Arroyo Vista Chardonnay. So yeah, it's so very fun.
And off the top of your head, if you had to just like pick a number of in the, like for instance in the current 2023 vintage of Arroyo Vista, what percentage are we looking at here? Is it like a minuscule, like 1%, just a little accent?
It's
note?
a little accent
Yeah,
note, 1
yeah.
to 2%.
Okay.
Yeah. But the real liveliness, you get a little bit of the floral character off of this, kind of apple blossom.
Right.
Yeah, that really adds some brightness to it.
Yeah, it's just like pure
Yeah.
Chardonnay fruit.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful.
Really super fresh. So yeah, and a nice comparison with that is I also have a 2022 French oak to compare against too, and just kind of see in concrete compared with oak.
And so this would be a second or third use barrel?
In second use.
Yeah, second
for
use.
2024. Yeah.
I know there's so many. If you go back, I'll probably link it in the description. But we did do a whole behind the scenes of what it takes to make real Chardonnay, so I'll link that whole series down below. But yeah, there's way too many variables you got here. Now we only have 6.
We only have 6, exactly. Exactly. We kind of whittle that down. This is kind of a simplified version of what we look at on a larger scale, just to kind of jump forward to making the Arroyo Vista blend. We would look at these and, gosh, I think we had about 30 wines that we were looking at initially, and just saying like, basically first off, is it in or out, and then make that master blend. And then I think Josh, when you originally saw this about a month or two ago, we were looking at that, and then we pull in some blenders and see like, is there more that we can add to make it taste even better. So kind of try to make the base blend and be like, okay, yep, that's really good, and then you try to do iterations on that to see if you can even make it even better or what direction it takes it. So, yeah.
So the
very
contrast
fun.
between the two.
Isn't it?
Wanna
Yeah.
go
What
in-
do you guys get?
I mean, there's just so much more like creaminess on this one.
Yeah. So that's from the lees stirring all the way through barrel fermentation and aging. We're stirring the lees every week and topping every 3 weeks. And so, yeah, a lot more.
And you get a little bit
texture.
of kind of the wood spice rack over here, where the concrete egg seems just like much more pure fruit. So this has more layers to it. But I'm still really liking
The
like,
concrete
wow,
egg,
pure
yeah.
Chardonnay.
Yeah, exactly. Just pure fruit in a glass.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's fun. It is very fun. For me, there's a little more malolactic character on the barrel ferment too. Maybe it's a little bit further along, and then that with the lees stirring too gives it a little more texture. Yeah, so pretty fun to try those side by side. So kind of keeping, I don't know if you guys, as we go through, want to take a couple notes like to that effect. You feel free. That's.
Are you going to ask us to make our own blend at the end?
I am.
I'm just enjoying it. I need to start taking notes.
I don't know, lemon, apple,
Right.
pure Chardonnay,
Yeah.
however what keywords would be helpful when you're making your blend to go back to.
Right.
And floral for me on the egg. And then if you go into the barrel, you've got other characters you're looking at.
And then just as a preview for the rest of the 4 that you have, what are the rest of the 4 samples that you brought us?
So the other 4 samples that we have here today are another blender, our Block 4 Clone 96. That, again, we do these tests that go into are in the Arroyo Vista, in fact, this year. That's neutral oak. That's a 2020 barrel. And then we have a 2022 barrel of GV5 Clone 76. And then we have a new 2024 barrel Louis Latour barrel of GV5 Clone 96. And then the very last one is a new barrel of GV5 Clone 96. And that's Dargaud et Geigle. And that's also a kind of, these are two, Louis Latour and DJs are a core part of our program
Okay.
for our Arroyo Vista blend.
And remind me,
Nice chance to try both
how
of
many
those,
how
yeah.
many total Chardonnay clones do we have out in the vineyards?
Total?
Is it 10?
Completely 10.
Yeah, 10
yeah.
different ones. And typically for Arroyo Vista, you would draw upon 5 or 6? Or,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really is since it's our reserve Chardonnay, it's the master tasting that we do, and then take the best of the best.
Right.
Make that cut. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
To even start the process. So hence whittling down the clones to 5 or 6.
Right.
Like, okay, this will make the blend.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So fantastic. So
I guess
if
we
you
got to
wanna-
sacrifice
You guys-
one or two. Or...
One or two, and
hate
we'll just
to,
taste
but-
through. Yep. So we're just doing a taste through here to see, start to kind of see like, okay, and then you can choose your favorites and go from there. So this is block 4, GV4, clone
you.
96.
Thank you.
And a good chance to see a little bit, the differences between the clones.
You said this was
as
neutral
well as we
oak.
go through this. And this is neutral oak, because this is a 2020 barrel, yeah. What I like here today is just to see this kind of, again, building layers with Chardonnay is always really fun. So we've got the concrete egg, we've got 2020 barrel, we've got 2022 barrels, and then the new barrels. And again, building layers upon layers. you
Right.
know, like crafting it that way. And go ahead, actually, and the next sample would be the 2022 barrel of GV5 clone 76. There you go.
Still get a lot of fruit on the neutral barrels. I don't get a lot of wood covering up. It's got the acid, it's got the fruit. There's some nice, probably from the stirring
Fresh?
character, I guess. There's some nice, a little bit of creaminess to it, but it's still, getting this really, what I think to my palate is like this pure expression of Chardonnay coming through. Really nice, really good body. I like that one. That may be this
The texture.
part of my blend.
Yeah. I appreciate the texture. The texture is what I call a kind of a linear balanced texture. Just kind of all across the tongue, and then the finish is really nice and pleasant and fresh.
And consistent, yeah.
Yeah, more of that citrus, a little bit of apple, but that's really good texture compared to the two that we previously tried, right? Yeah, so it might be something I've noticed, like, oh, that's a nice texture bump.
Right.
Like, maybe if you're making a blend, maybe that might be a nice little bit of texture. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely brighter than the number 2.
Yeah.
And then the texture I get too, like it just, like the mouth feels nice. The finish is pretty long too.
Yeah.
And obviously for the audience, if you're listening to it, this is probably one that you want to go onto YouTube to actually watch the video so you can see some of the nuances.
Yeah.
But this is fun.
Yeah, pretty fun. Really nice balance. But yeah, you have some things that can be fresher, but this is, I think, the really nice, again, with the texture on this one. It's great.
So my dad is a huge fan of your Chardonnays.
Aw,
He buys it
thank
by
you.
the case, literally,
Yeah?
down in Southern
Wow.
California for he and his friend. And they always are asking me questions.
Yeah.
And I'm not the winemaker, obviously, so I have to defer to you. But the one thing they have trouble getting their head around is the size of the program. And is it just you sampling hundreds of barrels of wine to kind of narrow it down to this? Or do you start out with kind of a preconserved building blocks you've used every vintage, and then you're just adding in spice components or whatever at the end?
I think every year we're evaluating
Just from
the whole-
you're starting all over.
Starting from scratch.
Using-
Caveat: our block 5 typically always goes in. We've learned that most years 2548 goes in. But yeah, I think it starts with a great team. I mean, of course, having the lab crew and the cellar crew to be able to sample and take care of things. But as we go through harvest and finish up fermentation and finish up, like when we need to sulfur, like some of these partial malolactic lots for freshness, during harvest, it would be, I typically go once a week down to the cellar, and I take it off in chunks and say
I see.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the notes for this start, last November and December.
Right.
To kind of say like, okay, these are potentials. Then we back that up with, or confirm that with like our vintage tasting, and with Steve Peck, with the vineyard, with Angie in the vineyards, certainly with the family, that we all taste together, usually in March each year, and we're all scoring each of the wines. So that's the second confirmation. So we have things that we go to and like, okay, and what were my notes then? So
Right.
if 2 and 3 times we see these lots, that's a really good chance to confirm that this is the best of the best. We'll start there.
So
So it's kind of the pieces of the puzzle logically.
Right, but you're
Yeah.
taking it in steps so that
Yes.
you get to this point where you're ready to blend in final bottle.
Yes.
And you're not starting from scratch now. It's been going in since you picked those grapes, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So that each step we can kind of, and then we do the final I would say two things. We do the blending before we do Riverstone pump out. You might imagine. So that's when this really kind of that's the real deadline is like May, because we're making Riverstone so that anything that doesn't go into Arroyo Vista will flow into Riverstone.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then even when we have it in tank, the very last is kind of maybe there's a new barrel rack or two, a neutral barrel rack or two, and that's the final. Like it's in tank, and now we're just doing the final tweaks. So up until so it starts very early, and then up until right before as a few weeks before bottling, we're just trying to make that as best we can.
Best you can.
Yeah, and then everything else flows into it. But if you think we have maybe 100 lots or so that in the cellar at least. So going through all of those, you can't do that all at once. So yeah.
Take it in
It's
steps and
how
chunks.
do you eat an elephant? Yeah, take it in steps and see what you can do. Yeah.
Okay, and then for more context, that's just for the Chardonnay program.
And that's just a Chardonnay. Yeah.
But how many wines is your team in charge?
Oh gosh, in total.
Yeah, if you think about all the white wines,
You
it
think
should
of
be,
all the white wines?
How many is that?
Oh gosh.
Dave, do you know? I guess why do none of us know at a given time?
At a given time, because we're looking at 100, I would say 120 samples each, because of all the little lots. Besides the Chardonnay program, we're looking at a couple lots of Pinot Blanc. We're looking at 10 lots or so of depending of Sauvignon Blanc.
Right.
That go into the Flume Crossing.
Right.
And all in different stages per year.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Different
and then
dates,
the gesture program, of course,
Yeah.
and what we're looking at with Roussanne, Viognier, and Grenache Blanc.
Yeah.
So yeah,
A lot of moving parts.
a lot of moving parts.
Lots.
We got just like a larger program, and then getting down to 200 cases and things. So
Yeah, I mean, surface-wise, you look at it, you're like, oh, this must be fun. You get to taste Chardonnay or wine all day long. But then when you think about how many variables and how many things you're choosing, that's like the never-ending Crayola box of colors to mix in.
It is, and yet trying for consistency. I mean, every time we're making a blend, just focusing on the blend, focusing on the flavor profile and the texture that would match that well. So we're still like true to vintage, but we've got a rather small bandwidth. We kind of say like, we're going to be true to vintage. We would like to taste within a small bandwidth and not like a large bandwidth year to year. So every year we're pulling out the 23, the 23 vintage against the 24, couple vintages back to make sure that we have that kind of consistency and stock. But yeah, it's a pretty fun project. It helps to be a little bit organized sometimes, or a lot, because there's a lot. Like you say, there's a lot of moving parts.
So you're pretty type A then.
I'd say I'm like type B plus, honestly. Because type A would not allow for contingencies. I think by nature I'm like, okay,
fair.
Type A to a point, but Mother Nature's gonna throw us curveballs.
Yeah.
Things happen. We just kind of got to roll with them. So yeah, I think there's the relative roll with it kind of. But yeah, it does help to be organized for that, to get the 120 lots to the right places and still be flexible enough too. I think part of that too is letting the wines be what they're going to be. Like even to say like, hey, I thought this was going to be a fabulous lot, when it first came in, and things changed over the course of aging, or it's not as fresh by the time we blend it, to just be flexible with that and say, okay, when we make the blend, this is really the best of the best. You might also have something that surprises you, which often happens too, that's not as good initially, but then you go back to it and you're like, wow, this is much better than expected. So you can move that wine up in the scale. So yeah.
To that point, with our Chardonnay program, so obviously we have the Riverstone, which is 40-year history and popular across the country, one of the best-known white wines in the U.S. Is it fair to say that the Riverstone is made, and we have a house style kind of the Riverstone to keep it a little more consistent since it is so widely distributed? But then a wine like the Arroyo Vista, which is a limited release, that's where you kind of get the vintage specificity and you can play around a little bit more?
I'd say that's true. Yeah,
Okay.
We're still trying to, with Arroyo Vista, be true to a style within a certain range, but we're really trying to make the best wine possible that year. So
Right.
yeah, again, that's much more creative. That's much more. It's going to be the best of the best year to year. Yeah.
And to a certain
little
extent, that means what? Letting the vineyard and the vintage, like you just said, kind of dictate what the wine's going to be? Or is it more like the Riverstone, where you're trying to maintain a style that people have proven that they really like?
I think it's more letting the vineyard speak at that point.
Right.
Yeah. If we have a block that might brighten up something on maybe a warmer year, let's say this is a warmer year, we need a little more brightness, we'll let that shine. As opposed to like a cooler year, maybe we need a little more texture.
Right.
And let that lot, like what we just tasted, let that block shine. So it's just kind of tweaking here and there to really, to make the best wine possible.
Yeah, so less a house style, but you're pleasing your and the Lohr family's palates basically with what you think Arroyo Vista represents and tastes like. Got
exactly.
it. Okay.
Exactly. And
cool.
what I think the consumers would like too.
Ultimately,
Ultimately, we hope, right? Yeah.
So which one are we on now?
Sorry, we have the first. Did you get the 576?
576. Is that number 1, 2, 3, 4?
Number 4.
Number 4. Yes, you poured number 4.
Yeah, great.
I think Dave's already finished too.
Yeah, I've made my notes. I'm being very careful here.
I like.
That's nice. A little lemon cream going on the palate. Yeah, very pretty.
Again,
a little bit of ripe apple pie.
Yeah, and I don't get a lot of overt oak on it.
Which is
taste,
good,
I taste it, but it's not like there's a 2x4 floating around in the glass or anything like that.
Which is great, and I think some of that a little bit of texture that comes through on the 2022 is because it's a couple years old. It's not the new oak. But the new oak has obviously like 100% impact. We use the second year probably 50%, third year probably 25% or so. Okay. It's just that little hint, like you're talking about.
Yeah,
which is great. Yeah, just it's nice to have that kind of real fresh flavors, and that's why it's nice to have a little bit new, couple-year-old barrels. And then we'll move on. This will be nice. So this next one is the Block 5 Clone 76 Louis Latour.
And then what's
Thank you.
What's the age of this oak?
This is new.
New.
This is brand new.
These next two are all new.
New, yes.
So get the most impact.
Yes.
You want to do a little back to back?
There we go. Yes, exactly. And this is Dargoy. This is GV5 Clone 96.
Thank you.
And so a little different clone and 2 different barrel types. Sorry, I was just laughing going back to the type B plus. I'm like rolling with it, but still keeping it organized.
I like how the nose is different, but I can't describe how it's different.
If you had to do it in a sentence, how would you describe the difference between the 2 clones before they went into the barrels for fermenting and aging?
Typically, the Clone 76, which is the basis for Arroyo Vista, gives us that like ripe apple, Meyer lemon flavors, a little bit of pear. Typically with the Clone 96, you'll get a little more ripe citrus, but you're getting into stone fruits. You're getting into kind of a nectarine, white nectarine or apricot kind of aroma, maybe a white peach. So a little bit slightly different kind of flavor. Yeah, known a little bit more for texture, the Clone 96 as well. Yeah, wow, and really nice. And the Dargoy Jegla barrel typically, again, is more. It's not really. It's a little bit more toasted, but you can see it gives it that kind of dark cocoa, kind of a gentle oak. A little bit of baking spice on that. And the Louis Latour, I appreciate that for it. It kind of respects the fruit more. As it gives you that a little bit of floral, a little bit of kind of an toasted almond kind of aroma, that maybe a little bit of hazelnut coming through on it that really melts, I think, really well with the Chardonnay too. A little less overt oak, but again, but a little bit of lift with one and a little bit more toasty with the other.
Wow, they're both nice.
Yeah, you like those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
have a preference?
The wood is obviously much more, for my palate, much more prevalent on these than the previous samples. I do like. I don't know. Still kind of working through it.
Or you like both?
I do like both.
That's good too.
I like the stone fruit element that you mentioned over here. I wasn't really getting it until you mentioned it, and then it just clicked, and that's what I'm tasting. It was kind of an apricot and a little bit of a peach, maybe, or nectarine. I really like that. I think this one is really pretty. Not that this one isn't, but if I had to pick one, just a bottle would be the second one.
I'm going number 5, number 6. I'd also go number 6 too. I mean, that too. Yeah. To me, it's the most different of the bunch, and maybe because it's the most different of the bunch, I'm just like, oh, this is a little more toasty, a little more spice, versus everything else is it stands out the most. Yeah,
it's a little bit toastier oak along with that peach apricot.
Very pretty.
Okay, then how often? Okay. Yeah. You said. I mean, you work through, like, how often are you running blending trials like this? Is this, like, every day? Is this, like, once a week?
As we approach bottling. So it would be, like, for Arroyo Vista, we do the primary blend and then get that in tank. So probably once we decide everything, Probably 3 times. We would look
Okay.
3 different sessions of sitting down and looking at it. The initial session, usually we do one and then we'll sit down a second time to taste everything together. Make sure that's the right call before pumping out. And then,
Gotcha.
like I was saying, when we're pumping out, we're looking at individual barrels that might go in as well.
But that's just for one wine. So then when you
And
add
that's
in the
for
rest of the
wine.
wines, now it's a usual part of
Yeah.
of the job description.
Yeah, I think probably a dozen times during the year at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time we come upon one of the wines that we're looking,
Okay.
definitely. So yeah.
So we
Yeah,
tasted through
it's a
all
good thing.
these.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
what's next in our Winemaker
Okay.
101?
So winemaking 101. I think what we were looking at before. Oh, this will be hilarious. This is gonna be great. So first off, I could try to approximate something that might be Arroyo Vista-esque.
Okay.
If you want to start there, and then if you want to like maybe play around with like, oh, okay, what's your favorite, and then you can try something. Okay.
Sure.
And I'll explain what I'm doing as
Okay.
I'm going.
Okay.
It's like a recipe. You're like, okay, so we're gonna start with the basics. We're gonna start with these 2 as our new oak.
Okay.
So Arroyo Vista being about 35% or
New
so.
wood, yeah.
Yep. So I'm just gonna do that. It's easy. about
Now, do you
these guys.
evenly distribute those, like 17 and a half, 17 and a half, or no? Do you have a preference for one or the other in terms of our mock 24 blend here?
If we're doing a mock 24 blend, I like this one. Maybe do a little bit more of this one than
Okay.
that one. But we might, let's see what we
Play
can
around with the ratios.
play it down with ratios. Yeah, exactly.
I know when I was with doing this last week with Brendan, just
Yeah.
1% of something,
Oh, completely.
yeah, completely changes
Changes
it.
it, yeah.
And we were playing with, okay, we're gonna add just a little bit more, and you think, no way, it changes it that much, but like it really does, especially on the palate.
So we're gonna try something here.
So how much are you
do
thinking?
10. I'm just gonna go half and half. You know
Okay.
that? I'm gonna start there, and then we can kind of play.
Are you going to publish this soon enough so that our blend could end up influencing the family's decision on? So
That's a
I
great
could actually
idea,
get my
right?
name on the back label.
There you go. That could happen.
That'd be
When you need it published by Dave, we can make it happen. And then, obviously, while she's making the first initial
Yes.
blends here, if you want to see some of the other videos, make sure to check down the description below. And then if you enjoyed stuff like this, make sure to follow us along on social wherever you're at. Okay, so we're going 35% new. Should we? Here, Dave, while she blends that, let's pour a sample. This is 23.
That's a great idea. Yeah. To
Oh,
compare
for
against.
our control. There we
Yeah,
go.
the control. There you go.
Here's one. And you want to give me one of
Yep.
Kristen's glasses.
There you go.
Bang, bang. I don't know which one. You have to remember which one I'm giving you.
The right-hand glass will be the
Okay.
current 2023 vintage.
Okay. Great.
Sweet.
So,
We
yes.
will.
So we're gonna go pretty significantly.
Think out
I'm
loud
gonna
for
go.
me, Kristen.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna go. See where we're at. Yep, we're at 35. We're gonna bring that up another 30 mils or so.
Okay.
Because the Clone 76 is a pretty significant portion still of the Arroyo Vista blend.
Okay.
So we have 17. If I bring that up another like 40 mils,
Okay.
something like that, that would be 57, something like that.
All right, so you can do.
Yep.
Pour it in. We got it.
Ready.
We could do it. And so this is the largest single component then, usually.
Yes. Usually it's Clone 76, the basis of the blend.
And why is that?
Just traditionally, it's been the preferred flavor profile. I think it is that Meyer lemon. It melds really well. Ripe apple, baked apple. That's all the Clone 76, where you get that brioche kind of flavor. Yeah, and so I think that's been traditionally what we've done. At 50 to 60%, something like that, is Clone 76.
Okay.
So yeah. So we've got that much. Now we just have little blenders. We can do as much or as little as we like here, just for giggles. We talked about like 2% of this guy, which is the egg. Sorry, put a couple mils of that in.
Wow, that's like very small.
That's very well. It's only 500 gallons
Yeah.
on now a 30,000 gallon blend we just made. So yeah, it's not very. So I'm just gonna like a mil.
So when you're blending, Kristen, are you using the previous vintage or vintages as a reference point, or are you just working off your palate memory? And right now we've got the current wine sitting here that we can compare side by side. Are you doing that in your
Yeah.
tastings as well or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we want to do is have the flexibility to use, like, okay, we know that Clone 576 is the basis, but it is all the blenders that might go into it, to give the kind of freedom to say, okay, we've got a block that might make the cut and be in it this year, and give us the freedom to do that. But yes, definitely, because
Yeah.
we want to be somewhere in the same vein
Right.
as the previous vintage each year. So give us a little bit of freedom for that.
Well, the current vintage
So,
is
yeah.
pretty popular.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You
Thank
got
you. I'm
90
glad to see
points
that.
from Wine
Thank
Spectator
you.
on it,
Very
and
grateful
91
for
from Wine
that.
Enthusiast. So
Thank you.
other people like it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to see. I'm going to split this. We're at about, currently that's 75. So at this point.
You're going 12 and a half, 12 and a half?
Exactly.
Look at that, right at
There you go.
100.
Right at 100, like we planned it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll empty the glass. You ready to try this?
Mhm.
Here we- This is mock blend. Here we go. There you go. Around there. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
A little bit close. You're welcome. I'll do that.
All right, so when you taste this and you're going
Yeah.
side by side, do you go the control last year's vintage first? You just diving into the new one and then going back?
Good question. I actually do go the control last vintage first and say, like, are we on the same planet? So we're just yeah, because as we do want to be creative and make the best wine possible, but we do want to be in this. I always say the same ballpark. We're in the ballpark. The same ballpark on the same coast, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, you can see kind of similar vein. Sort of.
Similar, but obviously different. Coming out
Yes,
barrel
I know.
tank, little fresher, but
Yeah, a little
this
fresher.
little
yeah.
more bottle finished here. Really nice structure. This is all put together, and here you can still kind of taste the different components.
individuals.
A little bit of the woods over here, a little bit of the fruits over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's delicious
You
though.
can kind of see, like, yeah, just it's young, and you can kind of see, like, okay, it's super fresh. The other thing is you were talking about a little bit of the bottle age. So it's the more bottle age, you'll get a little more of that creaminess. The vanilla's coming out. The barrel components are coming out in the bottle a little bit more at this point. So, and that'll still come forward. I mean, I
Yeah.
think each wine starts out fresh and fortunately evolves in the bottle. So, yeah.
But yeah, this is really pleasant.
Thank you. What I was noticing as we were prepping the 2024 for bottling was just, that texture and that, again, that linearity that just completely smooth all the way through to the finish
And
is really,
anything you note vintage difference wise? In other words, the growing season influenced something here that it didn't happen over here.
I think for 2023, that was a rather cool vintage, fairly cool vintage. So cool and late.
Right.
And so we were dealing with, with a long cool season. So we did get some hang time from that. But again, that has a little more higher acidity naturally on that cooler vintage in 23. 24 was cool all the way through, and then we had that warmth as we got into September for like 10 days. So we had kind of like this polished, like this last heat that really got the ripe fruit.
Okay.
So a little bit different vintage, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, stylistically. But I really appreciate the long, cool growing season whenever we can get it. Like the same thing we have this year.
Just more
but yeah,
flavor development.
Just more flavor development,
Yep.
yeah. Whenever we're approaching harvest like we are now, we really like to see, like, of course, acids are falling, phenolics and tannins lessen as well as we get there, and the fruit come on, and the sugar, we like to see that as a nexus all happen at a good solid point. On a warm year, you might have sugar develop and you're still waiting on flavor, you're still waiting on the acid to be right. On a cool year, you've got everything there and you're waiting on sugar. So it's a really nice thing to be able to have like a long, cool vintage and be like, okay, we'll get some warmth, we'll get some sugar, have that happen just as it should. So yeah, so I liked the way it developed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a really great vintage. Yeah,
And it's
But
working.
good to see. Yeah,
One more question, I
yeah,
promised.
yeah. Of course.
I've been tasting and writing about Monterey Chardonnay for like 30 years. So I have a very Monterey focused Chardonnay palate. But you've made Chardonnay in several different places in the world in your career
Yes,
before you came to
yeah.
J.Lohr. Is there one thing that you could name that stands out about Monterey grown Chardonnay versus Sonoma, Mendocino, or some of the other places you've made Chardonnay?
Yeah, yeah. It's such a unique area in the Arroyo Seco that what I love about it is our long, cool growing season, is that we get that extended time on the vine. So it's just this really great. In other areas, you might just have higher acidity one year, or you might get texture another year. And what I love about Arroyo Seco is we get both. We
Right.
get that hang time because of the wind in Arroyo Seco that really, if October is pretty much our month to really, and into November. So that long hang time gives us really higher acidities and texture both, which is really unique, yeah.
Because some of those other
Which is
areas you
why we-
might be worried about rain coming in
Right,
already.
exactly, or frost.
But you can let the
or-
fruit in Monterey go almost as long as you need to.
Exactly. Plus, we get at this point in the year, we're still in a cooling. I mean, it's still relatively cool too. So again, we've got a few weeks left until we start harvest, I think. So, yeah, to be able to have the cool weather and the fog for as long as we do, I think we're very fortunate for that. And that's just Monterey Bay. That's just the unique features of Monterey Bay, as you know. Yeah, yeah. Really good question. Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is
So
delicious.
very fun. You
It is.
like that promising, you think, maybe?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, the freshness of the food is there, and then I get the spice and the toast at the end.
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I'm glad you like it. It's very fun. Again, it's very young yet, so I'm just trying to okay, it's good. It's great to see it in this form, and then to see that you'll see it in 6 months or whatever when we finished it. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to
Great.
see how much more I want to say blended the 23 tastes like, just because it's gotten a chance to come together.
Right. Yeah.
I don't often get it.
Yeah, it's the interesting aspect, I think, of Chardonnay and white wines in particular, that we keep we keep and ferment everything separate. We'll track them separate for maturity samples, pick everything separately, everything ferments separately in barrel. You don't see until it's the surprise. You don't really see until the very, we're just putting the blend together, be like, oh yeah, okay, I can see it all coming together very quickly, maybe a few weeks before we go into bottle.
Yeah.
So a little bit opposite of Cabernet or red wines typically. And it'll just continue to develop as it gets in the bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then this blend was just blended now, which means you get
Yes.
zero.
Right.
on that bottle time.
Right. Yeah. It's just a baby.
Yeah.
It's just a baby 24. Exactly. So very fun to kind of put this together, and then it will develop into something, similar to probably a little bit, a little bit different than the 23 for the vintage difference. Yeah.
To that point,
So,
when
yeah.
when you have made your master blend for the Arroyo Vista, then does it go? It obviously goes back into tank to marry together a little bit before bottling.
Right. But probably a few weeks is
Yeah.
probably what we have. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
very little. Again, we can maintain. We have a great crew, and we can maintain very well in barrel with stirring and topping.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we'll keep that there until about 3 weeks before bottling.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then just to finish, just as we get ready for bottling. Yeah.
Then harvest starts and you start all over again.
Exactly.
Right.
Like right now.
There's no
so,
downtime. It's just
yeah,
right back.
Yeah, right now this week and next we're bottling the 24 Arroyo Vista and just emptying barrels so that we can fill them again in a few weeks. Yeah, it's great.
That's
It's
the
a great
nature
time.
of basically
Yeah.
being a farming company, right? It's just a year-round.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, every step of it is we're farmers basically, and
Yeah. And very fortunately, we get we have our own vineyards, our own sustainably farmed vineyards, so we get to follow that through
Right.
all the way.
we're in
with our-
control of the entire,
in the entire process from grapes all the way through
Yeah.
to bottle.
Yeah.
Which is, we're very fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys ready?
We're
Adding
ready
a little
for-
bit? Making your own blend?
Oh.
Sure. I'm gonna keep.
Does it sound like fun? Or
All right.
or if you had any other questions, I don't know. I was just thinking might be fun to try. We could
just-
get.
I want to
I'm
try
You gonna
Dave's
try?
master blend. I feel
Yeah,
like
try
he has some
Dave's
Oh,
ideas.
jeez, no.
If we were to make
Or
something,
I can put it together if you want to tell me what you think. Like you'd have a base, you'd have
Yeah.
you'd have like music or painting or anything else. You have like a base, kind of your best lot or two, and then you have, your mid layers, and then you have kind of your top notes. So I'd be happy to make it if you want to throw out a couple things like what your favorites are, and then let's see what this does. We
Okay,
could
well,
try that.
so then I guess what we did with Brendan last time was
Yeah.
we did what would be more of a old world style cab versus a Paso cab.
Mm-hmm.
So if we made a Arroyo Vista, which is a Monterey Arroyo Seco, if we went more old world, do we have something that we could mimic a more old world style? Obviously, you don't have the terroir, you don't have all of this, but based off of usual blenders or no?
I think we could try. I was just thinking in my head, I'd probably be in the GB576 kind of category. I'd
Okay.
probably be in an egg kind
More
of
the egg,
category.
right?
Mm-hmm. So how would that differ?
Potentially.
If you were trying
So-
to, with what we have, and we only have a limited palette now.
Right. Yeah. And I would say, from my experience in Burgundy, you'd have a hefty portion of that the minerality that's also toasted oak. So you'd be probably 40 or 50% of this guy.
Okay.
Most likely.
Can we
I
give
could
it a try?
Sure.
Let's give it a try. Let me,
That'd be-
I have a
that would be-
smidgen of the
that'd be great.
24, I guess. And so let me,
We've got
I'm
more
gonna-
23. So
yeah, we got a lot of
can do
23
that.
Arroyo Vista, and I got one more taste of
Hilarious.
potentially.
This is just here. So here's the thing. One caveat to making the blends that I will mention is, for instance, like with the egg. In this case, if you wanted to say, hey, we wanted to make old world classic. You could say like, hey, I could do 50% of this. But
That's kind of what I was thinking.
if we did this and did this guy, I mean, that's probably pretty close to maybe a little bit of this.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because when you say old world, I'm thinking Burgundy.
Yeah.
Burgundy.
And when I'm thinking Burgundy, I just my old, long time perception is they use less oak.
Yes.
They use less malolactic. And just in a really obviously oversimplified sense, you get more of the fruit and a little less of the wood and the butter that we sometimes see in the California style.
Right.
Is that changed since now this kind of homogenation of world styles where everybody's following, a Parker model or something like that?
I think I from my experience tasting, there's yes, there is a little bit of less obvious oak, I would say. In some cases, there's a fine line I found in the ones I've tasted between kind of that sulfide minerality and a toasted oak.
Right.
So I think that's what I'm trying to bridge in terms of like you get the minerality and the freshness here, but there is in the old world a layer of smokiness, of flintiness. I guess flinty is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, that I was kind of thinking like there's a
You
bit
have
of
that
that
there.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We can try that.
Okay.
We could try just those two and kind of see what we.
Yeah.
what we
Let's
get.
start.
Yeah?
Let's start with that.
Yeah.
See if we can
'Cause we
make
can make
let's see if we can
anything
make a
here,
white
so-
Burgundy. Let's make a
All right,
white Burgundy.
Yeah.
If that means you're going less oak, then that means you're not typically going a whole bunch of 100% new oak, then obviously, right?
Right,
It'd
right.
be a couple years old.
And for me, it's I get to try some white Burgundies occasionally. For me, it's also about the acidity.
Yeah.
They tend to be brighter, and I'm not saying it's better or worse. They don't tend to have what I can kind of consider the kind of heavy diacetyl butter component that you get out of a lot of California Chardonnays. That ML character. They tend to be a little more tightly wound.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, not better or worse, just a very different style with the same grape. Yeah.
I want to try that. And
So what are we
try to
adding in,
mark this
Kristen?
up. This is about 30% new,
Okay.
and I'm gonna do mostly this. And I thought maybe
Looks like we're at, can I read backwards?
you're
You're
right.
at 90, which
90,
means,
95.
oh, you went
And I
low.
wanted to do a top hat kind of thing of 496 as the pure Chardonnay that we were talking about. See if that might be. Let's see what that looks like. There you go.
Thanks.
See what you think there. I was gonna say as we're looking at yes, you're welcome. That we're just really careful when we're making blends to also not overcommit.
Yeah.
As you say, like, oh, I really love, for instance, the egg, and now I need 1,500 gallons of that I don't have.
Right.
So sometimes
Have to-
that happens.
So
You're like,
what you
I
have to
love
work
this.
with, yeah.
What you have to work with physically. It's like, oh, we actually have a few less barrels of that than the one we really loved.
But in this case, you can,
But in this case, you
because
can.
you're not actually going to finish it.
Yeah. A little bit there. What do you think?
Get a lot of pineapple up front.
A lot of pineapple.
The citrus.
Yeah.
What I like though is I like that kind of, I think you described it earlier, the kind of that linear acidity. So I think it needs perhaps a little more work, but I love the mouthfeel of this. See, what I equate to, again, ML and newer barrels, et cetera, that kind of finish component. Here, this for me is just a straight line, straight through it, with really nice acidity to it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty nice.
Great.
I think we bottle
Thank
it.
you.
Come up
We
with
should
a
bottle
new
it.
name for it. Charge $100 a bottle for it.
There you go. It's
You
really,
like
really
it,
fun.
Josh?
Yeah, what
I
do you
do
think?
like it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely less of oak than the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize how much the egg was gonna add a lot of freshness and fruit to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's pure. And now going back to it, because we've been through all these others that we've tasted, going back, the lemon and the freshness that comes out from the egg really shines.
Yeah. But the pineapple that Dave said, that's like apparent immediately.
Which isn't a character I would normally associate with white Burgundy. I certainly would consider it part of the Monterey palette with the tropical fruit description that we always use when we're talking about Monterey Chardonnays. So it still tastes like Monterey, but it's a little more of
riper.
a little more focused laser beam kind of style. Yeah, interesting.
You can play with it a little bit.
All right, so then now that you
And
tasted it,
just
Kristen,
a little bit more.
what else would
Yes.
you tweak? How would you change the ratio? A little more.
Then you do that, and then a little more egg on top of that.
And why?
Oh, because of the freshness that the egg brings.
I think it's neat how you described how the egg is actually made.
Yeah.
Right? I know that we've used concrete eggs, and other wineries that I've worked with have used them as well. I didn't realize that they're actually incorporating their terroir into the construction.
Into the construction of the egg. That is what is
you're
actually
tasting.
breathing
It's
in.
tasting like the place
Yes.
that is. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's very cool. I love wine geeky
That's great.
stuff like that. That's just
It's pretty amazing, and feel very, very lucky to have them, for sure.
So then how did you even select like the ratios for the concrete mix? Because that's a whole nother blending process now.
It's proprietary. They actually, that's much more on the palate to me. Yeah, so the different percentages
wow.
of that for that.
Yep.
And that egg, really,
Yeah.
most of it.
And that was just like a
Yeah.
hint
And now, exactly.
of oak.
Yeah, exactly, which is really just nice and bright. The other thing, too, is that really the acidity are so much higher that they're working with the Burgundy. Like, I remember in our travels, they would have finished, like, through malolactic, they would have wines that were finished at, like, 3.17 pH, 3.2, 3.15. Like, very low pH, so very high acid.
Yeah.
Even through malolactic,
Wow.
they would be still really high, So that real freshness, lemony.
We,
really
we get that in Monterey though
yeah.
too, to a certain extent. We may rein it back. That's what I've always loved about Monterey Chardonnay is you get this huge late hanging fruit component, but there's
Yeah.
always this cold climate acidity
Yeah.
that keeps the whole package balanced. It doesn't taste like one thing or another. It's just this really nice package, and you can hang some oak on that without the wine tasting oaky.
Right, exactly.
Which is, I guess that's why so many wineries moved into Monterey to grow Chardonnay after we were there 50 years ago. It's really, that style is, it's not Burgundian, but it's its own animal that seems really complete to me. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And we get really high acidities as we hang later on the vines.
Right,
So, yeah,
right.
yeah. Part of the wind, the great thing about having the wind there.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can keep tweaking all day, Kristen,
Yes,
but I want the
exactly.
last question I got for you.
Yes,
2024 vintage Arroyo Vista.
yes.
What's the one thing you want consumers to take away from it as they taste it, try it? Is there a dish that you recommend? What do you want to tell them?
I hope that they really enjoy it as a really nice balanced Chardonnay. It's got a little more freshness to it than even the 23. So really more toward our Burgundian style and toward what we aspire to. It's our ode to Burgundy. So really appreciate that. So yeah, I think, but really enjoying it with some nice fresh seafood, some nice, of course, with lobster. But you could even go fresher, I think, with more like scallops with a nice lemon sauce, something really nice and fresh, or fresh seafood pasta. It'd be just delicious with it. Yeah.
Well,
It's a really nice to try these and just kind of think like, oh, what might the 24 be as we're moving forward? Yeah.
Dave, any other last concluding thoughts at all?
No, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
We don't often get to
thank-
corner
thank-
our winemaker
thank
fire
you.
questions at us.
This
That was fun
great
and
fun and
and
just-
tasted great as well.
Oh,
So
very, very fun.
good luck with
Fun to share
good
what
luck
we're
with the crush and
Oh,
that.
thanks very much. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
25. Here's
Cheers.
25. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
And obviously for you at home who aren't tasting us right now, and if you want to taste along with us, you can get, depending on when you're listening to this, 2023 J.Lohr Arroyo Vista. You can find on our website and around near you. And then 24 is going to get bottled soon. And so we'll leave links to all of
So
that
great.
linked in the description. And of course, if you want to go and see the tour that I did with Kristen down in Greenfield at the winery to see exactly all of the craziness that she's talked about today, you can go ahead and click that video next. But thank you, Kristen.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave, for jumping on.
Thank you.
And we will see you all on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Cheers.
Sweet. That's the pod.
Great.